Hello, thank you, Logan. Yes, I'm Calvin. I am many things, but among all things, I am the external advisors for several NGOs. What I would love to share with you is a few tips on storytelling that I have collected, accumulated through the years as a designers and also right now as educators. So the four tips are relevance, efficiency, landing, and aiming for the heart. I don't know whether you know, the attention span of average human has declined in the last 20 years from a little higher than a goldfish than lower than a goldfish. Knowing how we behave nowadays in our daily lives, such as on the MTL, everyone is on the mobile phone, all right, on the mobile phone. For example, in the Instagram videos browsing behavior, on many occasions, I've seen them that they couldn't even get through a 10 seconds clip. They probably just flip and flip. When they see, after they watch a video for 3 to 5 seconds max, they could already know whether they're interested or not. Now, knowing this behavior can tell you that people nowadays have no patience. And that makes our job as designers or storytellers or communicators even harder. So, first point, relevance. In my practice in design thinking, I always remind people before you designing anything, you need to check with your team on who are we designing for. And here, same with storytelling and communications. I often ask when people write something or when people want to talk about something, I'll first ask, who are you talking to? Are you talking to my mom? Or are you talking to my teachers? Or are you talking to my students? Different age group, different education level. So one thing that people often forget is they are quite often adopting a pushing paradigm. Pushing meaning just throwing up or like throwing out information. I call it like information vomit. Because when you do that, you're assuming a lot of like understanding. You're assuming people understand what you're saying. You're assuming people understand why you're saying this. You're assuming people know where you're coming from. So when you're telling a story or when you're trying to communicate, the most important thing to start with is don't assume people understand what you're saying. Language alignment, like again, simple words like color, green. There's so many green in the world, the color. And when you just say green, you don't assume people that know like your green is, they understand what you mean by green. All right. So don't assume understanding. And I'm mindful of the language. When I say green, I mean olive green, just like the olive. All right. And quite often, the most effective way to help people resonate or relate is using metaphors. Not just any metaphors or analogies, but things that people can relate to. If you don't understand what this is, just remember or recall how you explain the same thing to different people. For example, I'm sure we all have experience on explaining how to use an app or explain the internet to our parents. If you haven't, try it because that is a great training. Don't lose your patience. Next tip, efficiency. I mean, like I mentioned, people have really low attention span and people don't have time and people don't have patience. And worst of all, unfortunate as it is, people don't read. I myself don't like to read, all right, because we don't have time anymore. No one have time to actually savor the whole newspaper unless you're retired, right? That's why in social media, everything is short, getting shorter and shorter. From reading, we transform to actually watching videos or listening to audio. So because people don't read, when we speak or when we story tell, even during presentation, make sure you give people context. Why I'm here, who I am, what I'm trying to do here, what I would like you to do. So context is very important. And then when you're writing or even when you're presenting, as you can see this slide as example, keep it simple and use headlines and punchlines. So you can direct people's focus on what you're talking about. And most importantly, you need to communicate after you communicate what people have to do or what you actually want people to do. So in the nutshell, what's the point? Third, landing. Another terminology that we use a lot apart from framing is landing. After you frame something up, you talk about it, and then you hope to land on whether it's a knowledge or message. And you want to land with impact. And how you do that is three common things, just like in marketing and promotion. You need strong visual. Now, I didn't have time to include any pictures, but more importantly, that I intentionally don't have any picture in this slides because it's impact. I just want you to see the text while I'm speaking to it. So strong visual. Sometimes no visual is also strong visual. As you notice, we have a rules. It's either 3 to 5 points, but usually 3 points. It's all to do with attention spans. And also people like to have things in 3 pointers, easy to remember. So whatever, however much of content you want to deliver, however strong a stories you want to tell, make sure that you have 3 strong points coming out of it that people remember. And most importantly, I have to keep reminding people, we all have a lot to say. All have a lot to deliver. Your bosses or your future bosses will ask you to jam a lot of message into one communication. Do remind them that the most effective way of communicating is single message. Lastly, like I mentioned, my job is designing for people. So when you design for people, you design for the emotion, you design for the feeling, you're aiming at the heart. So when you want to communicate effectively, especially in the impact space, by impact, I mean, could be sustainability, could be about humanity, could be about our better future as a species. When you want to aim for the heart, three things. Just like how we be, I would emphasize on the why. Why are you communicating? Why is it important for people to think about what you have to say? Why do they have to care before the how? Because the stronger the why, the easier the how. Second thing, I would encourage you to appeal to people's sense of purpose. Going back to the why, but more elaborate on the purpose of why this communication is important to them, why they have to read this, and why does it matter that they read it and what they have to do afterward? What's the purpose? Lastly, we live in a very egocentric world. Like people love to brag about themselves and talk about what they did, blah, 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 blah. It's all about me, 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 me. If you ask me, the most impactful storytelling is actually telling the story for others, especially those unheard, those don't have a voice, those are less fortunate, those are being penalized or discriminated in the world. If you can tell those stories, I think is most impactful, helpful, and would help serving a purpose. And whatever you're aiming to do, you will appeal to the heart and you will be efficient and effective.